Hey everyone, welcome to this little enclave of Ithaca College inside the Cornell Club in downtown Manhattan. Thank you for coming here tonight. My name is Brett Bossard. I serve as the Executive Director of Alumni and Family Engagement at the college. I'm also an alum, class of 95, and it's great to see, oh yeah, that's a hoot. You can hoot for that. That is a hootable line. It's great to have you here for our second Bomber Entrepreneurship Network event. The first one was held in Boston a few months ago, and we're very excited to be launching this program in cities all over the country where bombers have found their home. So thank you for being part of this program. It is a program that is being made possible through the generous support of a philanthropic donor to the institution, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say that Giving Day is coming up. You found some QR codes around the building when you came in. You can be a champion of your favorite cause on campus by clicking that QR code or just going to givingday.ithaca.edu, and you can be a champion and encourage all the other bombers in your network to support all the great things that make student success possible on South Hill. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for coming tonight. This is going to be a great panel and a great evening, and to get it all started, we've got the Dean of the School of Business at Ithaca College. Where is he? Michael Johnson-Cramer. Oh, he's right there. He was hiding.
Hi, thanks for being here. This is fabulous. Michael Johnson-Cramer, I got to Ithaca about 2 years ago now. And it's my great honor to be the Dean of the Business School. But I figured before we got started with the panel, I would just give you a quick roundup of stuff that's going on across campus, because everyone, comes from a different school. Park, celebrating, woo, right? Let's hear it. I always start with Park, they're the loudest. So Park celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. So if we don't tire you out next week on Friday, I know there's an event here in town, so take a look on the web, follow up on that email invite you're probably sitting on or deleted. Check the spam filter. Please definitely consider being out there. Humanities and Science is welcoming a Pulitzer Prize-winning historian to campus this week. Right? Jefferson Cowie, absolutely. Health Sciences and Human Performance. All right, yeah, they're subtle, but they keep us alive, so, we give them credit. HSHP just permanently hired their new dean. So they have a new dean, Christina Moyland, and those of us who know her, she was actually the person who picked me up at the hotel when I was job interviewing. She was a faculty member at the time, so just wonderful to have her take on the full-time role as dean there. Who am I missing? Music, theater, and dance. Yeah, I know we got people here, right? MTD, as we call it on campus now, is doing both Dvorak on Friday, if anybody's going to be up in Ithaca and wants to hear Dvorak. Also, Urinetown the musical. I just wanted to say Urinetown with the filming going on. Seriously, so much going on. April is really the wildest month to be a dean, wildest month to be on campus. I wander the halls of the business school. I see kids preparing for Demo Day, which is our entrepreneurship pitch competition. Yeah, that's right. I see kids preparing their investment thesis for the South Hill Fund, which is finance students giving stock pitches as part of their classes to invest real money. Just everybody's got something going on during kind of what I consider dog and pony show month in higher education. So it's just great to be on campus. You get this sense of energy. So much going on there. I'll also say it was 62 degrees and sunny when I left. So tomorrow, if it warms up, you're welcome. I'll also give you just one more heads up. The bathrooms are up one floor or down one floor. Leave it to our friends across the hill to make getting into the bathroom even hard. Although I think it's SAT optional, so, With that, and since Brett already did the Giving Day shill, thank you, Brett, for taking care of that so we academics can keep our purity. I really want, when we were thinking about how to do an event here in New York City, the first name that came up in the conversation with our colleagues across campus was Mark French. And then everyone said, nah. But then, the energy, and the first time I got on a call with Mark, I was so excited to have this conversation. So the structure is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to call Mark up. We're going to have a little bit of conversation about sort of his journey as an entrepreneur. But the theme of the night, the theme of the panel, and we have some students in the room. I want to call them out, by the way. Welcome to New York City for the Meet the Firm students. Here for 2 days of company visits, and this is just the icing on the cake, the Bomber Entrepreneurship Network. But the theme of the event, and really sort of the topic, is the realization that entrepreneurship is really about relationships, and that the story of any entrepreneur is a story of the people that surround them and make that entrepreneurial journey possible. And we can think of no better way to sort of situate that and talk about that and get that story out there than by having Mark actually interview many of the people from IC, many of his friends, classmates, cohorts, people he's encountered along the way who have been a part of that entrepreneurial journey. So I'm actually going to ask a few questions and then hand over the microphone to the last person up on stage, and then actually listen to Mark kind of lead the conversation with his cohort there. So I'm looking forward to it as well. So Mark, come on up. Let's get started. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
See. So by virtue of the topic, Mark is going to do a fair amount of introducing himself. But since we have students in the room, I always like to start with a question a little bit like this. So many years ago, you were on South Hill.
Yep.
You were in the Park School looking for, headed out into the world. What did you think you were going to do? What did you think the journey was going to be? And in what ways were you right? And in what ways were you spectacularly wrong?
Yeah, advice I try to give to anybody from Ithaca or any college student that I talk to is you don't need to know. Try everything, explore everything. I was just having a great time with my friends. And I loved what I was studying. I was in the Park School. I loved communications. So naive. Mike, Luscher, you'd appreciate it. The NBA was on NBC at the time. So I wanted to work for NBC. That was kind of my goal. Loved the arts, creative, movies, television. But I loved the business side of it too. And at Ithaca, I was able to study all that. But you alluded to it before, the relationships that I made at Ithaca were priceless. And I would have never thought when I was 18, 19, 20, I'm going to be working with these people because I choose to, 20 years later. So the truth is, I really didn't know. I knew I wanted to work in film, television, and sports. But I wish I did a better job. So I want to, hats off to the students that are here. I did not do a good enough job about really learning the resources that the school offered. So I think it's such a huge step that you've all taken to put yourself in a great position to network, right? We weren't doing this. We were networking with each other. The phone wasn't what the phone was today. There was no LinkedIn. There was none of that. A big hats off to everybody here. Take advantage of it. You're 10 million steps ahead of where I was when I was at IC.
So in what ways did Ithaca shape you and sort of put you on the path to entrepreneurship?
Again, and he's going to speak for himself, but Mike Luscher and I talk about this all the time. Like, Ithaca builds entrepreneurs. I don't know what it is. We all have similar value systems, work ethic. Like, everybody that's up there wants to work. I think just really good character of people. And just really meeting people from different schools was really a huge value proposition as well. So, we'll meet Ben Zebelman, who was in the music school. We had very different groups of friends, but we were both, passionate about sports. We were both passionate about film and entertainment. And fast forward, 20 some odd years later, Ben's still scoring every commercial that I work on, and he has an unbelievable career. So talking to people in different schools, everybody that I lived with, all my friends, they were all in different schools. So I think that's important. Get out of your school, per se, meet other people, network. I think that was critical.
So in many ways, Don't Quit is our kind of live case study for tonight, right? Because, we're going to fast forward to your most recent. As a serial entrepreneur, we could have focused on any of the companies and things that you've done. But as you think about Don't Quit, could you introduce us to it a little bit as a product, as a company? And then really the question that's fascinated me as I've read about it and as I've followed you online is, what did you see? I mean, as a market segment, it doesn't necessarily jump out as, oh, I want to enter into, a market segment that's already populated by these huge consumer product group, companies. What did you see that others didn't see?
Yeah, so for this latest venture, after we had sold the Players Tribune, which I was fortunate to work on with Derek Jeter, I was just really taking active board seats and making investments in sports entertainment technology companies, and was really fortunate that I had started working with L. Catterton, which, if anyone's in the finance world, one of the top, if not the top consumer goods private equity firm in the world. They were the first money in Peloton, vitamin water, just really better for you products. And I got a phone call from them saying, look, we made an investment. We put $30 million into an energy drink. And we're having a hard time scaling it. But we have 30 NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball teams that are buying it for their athletes, which was kind of in my wheelhouse, having worked with a lot of different pro teams, pro athletes, and creating products that really kind of started in the locker room and then scaled out of it. So they asked if I would run the company. I couldn't do it at the time. I said, why don't I take a board seat? Why don't I take one of L. Catterton's board seats, see if I can help from the sidelines? And I did. We were fortunate just by adjusting some of the marketing, some of the product attributes, hiring some of the right people. CVS agreed to launch it nationally. Subway launched it nationally as well. So it's a clean, healthy energy drink. So think Celsius, but without any of the artificial stuff that was in it. But to your point, very crowded space. And two great tenant distribution partners. The business was doing about $12 million a year, which wasn't bad, but it's an expensive industry. And I just started looking at the teams that were buying it. And I saw that the Spurs were buying it, and then I saw the Raptors were buying it, then the Clippers were buying it, and I said, this has to be Kawhi Leonard. And just using our relationships with the NBA Trainers Association, he was drinking it before every game. So spoke to Kawhi, he had invested, which then kept it kind of on brand for a lot of my previous ventures where the athletes I work with would invest their own money, become real, true partners versus just endorsers. And then we were ready to really launch it. And the key with beverage, there's a reason why 99% of beverages fail. It's all about distribution and route to market. There's only so many trucks, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and now the alcoholic brands, Anheuser-Busch, Smoke, of course, that can actually get your product to the store and on shelf. And without one of those distributors, it's very, very hard to succeed. So, and it goes back to networking, right? So we'll talk with Ben and Ty. One of our previous ventures was a kids television show that we co-created with Dwayne Wade in an effort to get kids up and off the couch. And this is actually an important lesson. And we were working with a production company called Relativity Media that had raised $300 million. They did great movies, The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg, The Social Network. They were really becoming an entity. And we needed a production company partner for that project. And another one of our advisors that comes back to networking said, we just put $50 million into Relativity Media. They're starting a kids division. Fast forward, we partner with them. We didn't have a great feeling about it, but we were all in other jobs. And a press release came out that Relativity Media just partnered with the #1 beverage incubator that was behind Body Armor, Evian, Zico. And I said, I want to meet this guy that created it. And no reason for us to connect. Cold called him. Hey, I'm working with Relativity. Let's meet next time you're in LA. And I met him. He goes, hey, what do you think about Relativity? And I said, I don't really know. What do you think? He's like, I don't have a good feeling. Long story short, it's a very long story. They ended up filing for bankruptcy right after we had sold our show to Nickelodeon. So we had to go unwind this whole deal through bankruptcy. But that relationship I made with him, fast forward 7 years later, when I take the board seat, he's my first phone call. Again, Body Armor was about to get sold for $8 billion. And he said, look, I'd love to work with you. but I'm about to launch another energy drink. I said, hey, I got Kawhi Leonard, I got Saquon Barkley. He's like, I got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm like, you win. But we had stayed close. And the benefit that we had with X2, the name of the brand, had really great institutional investors, and a lot of sports companies were getting behind it. So I said to him, look, I can't get a distribution partner. And he had Don't Quit. So he was just creating Don't Quit, which was brilliant. He went to Keurig Dr. Pepper, who he had sold Core Water to. And when he sold Core Water, he said to the CEO, the chairman, who you know, Bob, who went to your previous institution, and said there's only one category in beverage that has not been disrupted. And it's the adult nutrition category, which you don't see here right now. But if you think adult nutrition, brands like Ensure or Boost, $7 billion category, and there's only 2 players in it. That's ripe for disruption. And if you look at the back of the label, the same way he did Body Armor, that was basically, let's just take all the bad stuff out of Gatorade. That was their thesis. The same thing could be true for an adult nutrition drink. So they said, well, let's create Don't Quit. And the name Don't Quit comes from, most people here won't know, but a lot will know Jake Steinfeld, Body by Jake, who was a huge fitness influencer in the 80s, who was the epitome for that target demo of a healthy living. And Keurig Dr. Pepper said, look, if we're going to do this, first of all, here's $10 million to get started. If you're an entrepreneur, that doesn't happen. That's credibility. They had done it multiple times. By the way, no one knew COVID was about to come. So all this was happening right before COVID, and no one was going to stores, especially old people weren't going to stores to buy product. So long story short, I was in his ear, and I said, you've got Don't Quit. You've got your partnership with Keurig Dr. Pepper. I've got a clean sports energy drink. Why don't I put $10 million behind it? Sure. I can keep talking. Can everybody hear me? Don't quit. Don't quit. Keep going, sir. Don't quit. How's that?
We'll see you in a second.
We'll see you in a second. Well, I'll keep going because I'm probably boring you already. But we said, Keurig Dr. Pepper and I said, look, why don't we create a clean sports nutrition brand that will eventually end up with an adult nutrition offering. We have a clean sports energy drink that has a patent against it. And you should be in the protein business, because to produce an adult nutrition drink, it's protein-based. Muscle Milk is owned by Pepsi. Core Power owns Coca-Cola owns Core Power. Keurig Dr. Pepper, you don't have an offering on your trucks. Going back to the trucks, that is a protein offering. We could do the same thing, take all the bad stuff out. Sucralose is an artificial sweetener. Every energy drink you've seen, every soda you drink has sucralose, which is not good for you. We'll take sucralose out, and that created Don't Quit by merging the 2 brands. So Keurig Dr. Pepper owns 40% of the business with call rights, which is important as an entrepreneur. Doesn't mean they have to buy it, but they have the first right to buy it. The product is distributed on their trucks, which is the biggest problem solver. Madison Square Garden, so the Knicks and the Rangers were 2 of those teams that were drinking X2. They made this their first beverage investment. And some other great investors. And going full circle, everyone's going to meet Josh Golden, who is not only an incredible marketer who has an unbelievable entrepreneurial journey, but he's an angel investor as well. So things come full circle. In addition to being a great advisor from a marketing perspective, he's also an investor along with some other great people. So yeah, that's what we're building. We just launched this, California focused, and we'll launch the adult nutrition drink in 2025 with Walmart. So they've already, so again, $6 billion category, now $7 billion, 40% of that goes through Walmart, which is fascinating. All case packs, so it doesn't need to be cold, shelf stable. So we're getting ready for that Walmart launch. And Keurig Dr. Pepper's, when we said we're going to merge the business, said the only contingency is French has to run it. So I leaned in, I'm the CEO, built a great team, and we're off to the races.
So, woo, yeah, right? So we've got a number of kind of proper nouns, people in the room and that we'll call out in a second. And as you get called out, come on up, and I'll hand the mic to the last one up, I guess. But before we do that, you mentioned Bob Gamgort, an important proper noun in that story, because as the president chairman, I think of Green Mountain,
Yep.
he had been at Mars Candy and Pinnacle Foods, and he was actually on my board when I started the College of Management at Bucknell, which is where interesting tie. Talk a little bit about how you built that relationship, because that's a pretty important piece of the story you just told in terms of how you actually make a working product in that pretty tight category.
It's a great question. I think it comes down to, integrity, humility, honesty, especially, the more you get around people that you admire and respect. Like, we all have challenges. Like, you're always going to run into problems. So if you're honest and upfront about it, people like Bob in a position respect that. They'd rather hear bad news and how are you going to address it than fluffy, happy talk, for lack of a better word. So it's just, building that relationship from the beginning of, doing this merger is not a magic wand. Like, there's a lot of work, and here are the things I think we need to do to get to where you're going to want to buy the company. He's extremely involved, and he loves it. When he introduces me, I'm really humbled by it. He says, like, look, we don't do small well. Like, we screw it up when we try to tinker. He's like, you do 0 to 100 really well. We do 100, to $1 billion really well. So you go build it, and then we'll take it over from there. But I think with someone like Bob, it's constant communication, not BS communication, like, hey, how you doing? But constantly providing helpful, relevant updates, and just being a good person. It really comes down to being that basic.
Tell us, in a nutshell, sort of the thumbnail story of your entrepreneurial journey as it touches on each of the panelists.
Yeah.
And in that way, sort of introduce them into the story as they kind of came into your story. And because I know then you'll ask them about sort of how you came into theirs in a lot of ways. So
yeah, I got to tell you, I'm more excited about this.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've been fortunate to do a few of these, but I haven't looked forward to something as much as this, because, and everybody here has had a lot of attention for their successes as well. But you don't really get the opportunity to talk about how you guys collaborate and made something amazing happen. So thrilled to introduce the folks that are here in no particular order. First, I'll have Ty Lifeset come up. Ty, by the way, for the aspiring entrepreneurs, so I'm going to put everybody on the spot here a little bit. Like, you're always taught, like, what's your elevator pitch? Like, you got to be able to give it in 30 seconds. My don't quit was like 10 minutes, so that's a huge failure. But we're gonna do a lot of talking here in a minute. Ty, give your 30-second elevator pitch on what you're doing right now.
Okay, right now, 30 seconds, all I got?
Go.
You started?
Yeah.
Okay. So I come from the advertising world, and I've built agencies, and I've noticed sort of a change in the culture of advertising that allowed me to launch a consultancy. So in that consultancy, is sort of a decentralized model, where we don't have a bunch of butts and seats and wait for clients to come. As clients come to me, I build the team ad hoc and quickly solve problems. And so we saw same thing where you saw some white space in the market. I saw some white space in the market. As an entrepreneur, I stepped into that white space.
Ty's working right now with Netflix. He'll talk a little bit about that, one of his premier accounts. He works with Post Malone. And then for us, he and I always joke, and I would never do it, but if I wrote a book, the name of the book, and everyone that's on this panel, it's, hey, bro, I got this idea. Like, it always started with that. So I was, working at NBC, had a great job running a business that I had founded, and Ty was one of my first phone calls. Hey, bro, I got this idea. Let's create a product for the game of basketball, slipping and sliding, because at the time, he was doing huge brand campaigns. And how do we build the brand? What goes into the name? And then we had a pinch me moment. We were pretty young at the time, and Dwayne Wade was at the peak of the league, and we're shooting a commercial with him. We called in every favor we had from Ithaca, people that were in the park school, and basically convinced everybody this is a $50,000 commercial, but startup, it was like $1,500.
Yeah, I believe the conversation was, we get to shoot a commercial with Dwayne Wade. Awesome. Has to be this Saturday. Oh, okay. So, welcome to the world of entrepreneurship.
But
Moves quickly.
We've been on the journey ever since, and hopefully we'll get to touch on all the things that we've done along the way. Next up, Joanna Stahl. So I'll tell a quick story about how Joanna and I got reconnected, and then you got your 30-second elevator pitch. But one of our business's mission, we launched a product with Serena Williams and Drew Brees, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade again, and it was an instant cooling towel that you would wet and snap, and it would go cold instantly, and actually it led to really the rocket ship of us eventually having an exit with that company. And when we were launching the brand, I had the idea, let's invite all of the media, the fitness trade publications, to come work out with Serena Williams. So how do we build a great fitness workout that they're going to get hot and want to cool off and make it fun and they're not annoying Serena? Joanna, I got an idea. Can you take it from here?
Yeah, that was awesome. Was it George St. Pierre, too? He was
GSP.
It was literally walking, so 24-hour fitness. We're running around with towels. I was just the group fitness instructor at the time for the class, and it was just, when do you get to meet Serena Williams and tell her how to work out? It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, no, deeper. Great. My 30-second pitch is 10 seconds. I came from prenatal women to tobacco and cars, got into the fitness industry at 25. Sorry, it's already more than 10 seconds. I added a little bit. So I had a startup idea called Go to Practice, which was a directory of every gym in the US, kind of like an open table, but for gyms. That's the 10 seconds that you need. And then push pause on that, and now I'm building kind of all the either buy or build for member management systems around the world for gyms. All fitness industry all the time.
Brilliant.
And most people think I'm just a trainer, which is great. I'd run around teaching group fitness classes for Equinox, Crunch, the JCCs, Master Swim teams. I literally walk the talk daily, which is why Mark and I are still friends.
She's the best. Next. I'll let him tell the story because he does it better than I do. But Josh Golden will tell you that I hired him for the favorite job that he's ever had. But Josh is literally an icon in the world of marketing and advertising. He ran Ad Age. He's worked with every major ad agency in the world. We worked together again at NBC Universal where he was innovating. And now he's running Quad, an unbelievable agency. I go to him for advice all the time, and a brilliant marketer as well. Josh Golden.
All right, up top. 30 seconds. So thank you, Mark. That was very kind. Unlike you, which is nice. The truth is, Mark does call me with questions, and I got an idea, bro. And I do love that because I am more of an intrapreneur. And that's a different kind of entrepreneur. I prefer to work at large companies that are looking to evolve and change from the inside out. The rest of you, or many of you at least, are interested in that kind of that angle of I want to do something on my own. I prefer, I think it's harder, frankly, to move a company that is actually locked in the way they've been doing something and shift it. So starting off my early days on film and TV, Park School, then I got my MBA at NYU, and then because everyone was always looking at me like, so why is the film guy coming to me with the business ideas? I was like, okay, let me solve that. So then I went into the agency space. All the agencies that no longer now exist, they're all sort of eaten up, Y&R, Gray. And then I joined NBC, and then AT&T, and then Xerox, and then I ran Ad Age for 5 years, which was fabulous, and now at Quad, which is a large marketing services company. And the truth is, I'm endlessly looking to figure out, well, what is the next thing that a company needs to be, and people bring me in for that role, which I really do enjoy doing. And I do not believe that I'm an icon at all, but I do believe that I am well known for trying really hard things and sometimes succeeding. And so I'm thankful to be on this panel with you, sir, and with all of you, frankly, and I'm excited to be here. And I didn't realize that I'm officially a bomber because I did work on with Scott Lozea the actual production of getting the Bombers production video team of the television show. So I am thrilled that in fact that I have the benefit of doing that. So that's longer than 30 seconds, but the truth.
Fun fact about Josh, he invented and created what we were referring to before, the Day of Giving for colleges.
Yes.
You piloted it with Purdue, correct?
Yes,
And
that
then
was the original Giving Day. I was working in an agency that was Purdue University came to us and said, we want to do something to make people give money. And I was like, here's the thing, no one likes giving money. So I was running the agency at the time, and they're like, so what do we do? I was like, so here's an idea. Why don't we make it competitive? And they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, let's have each school compete against one another, but you can only do it in one day. And they were like, sounds smart. And so we so we rolled it out. It was like, I think we made, in the first one, we made $6.7 million in one day. And they just did it again. And all the other schools, by the way, picked us, Ithaca, and I pitched it to everybody. And they all just did it themselves, which is fine. But I think Purdue made almost like $40 million in one day. It's like nuts. So the idea is this urgency to give. And NYU had theirs today. And I was like, it's funny, as I was getting the email, I'm like, I invented this. But that's okay. I still get money.
And I'm not going in alphabetical order, but it's going to end up that way. Mike Luscher is up next. Mike is a dear friend and someone I've always respected since Ithaca, because when we were at Ithaca, every year Mike was working at the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball, and then he turned that into a job. So when you ask the question, what were you doing at Ithaca? Mike was doing it right. Mike was doing it right, and tremendous success from an entrepreneur standpoint. Built and sold a business to Dick's Sporting Goods, and then we were having dinner in the city one night. This is a true story. And I'm at NBC Universal, and I said, hey man, I think I'm gonna leave. I'm thinking about starting a basketball business. He's like, I'm starting a basketball business. And
Nice.
Like, shit, does he have the same idea I have? And he was thinking the same thing. But we've been helping each other every which way that we can. And Mike has done one of the most impossible things. So you think about the basketball behemoths, the Nikes, the Adidas, the Under Armours. Mike's built a basketball brand that's been around for 10 years. And I have 2 kids that play year-round basketball, so AAU tournaments, high school tournaments. You can't go in a gym without seeing his product. So for a couple of basketball junkies, just a huge success. Mike Luscher.
Woo!
I was told I get the handheld mic because I'm actually going to
Big boss.
beatbox my entire speech.
Ready to go.
You're too kind. It's awesome to be here. So the quick version is I feel very lucky that I went to Ithaca. I have a 17-year-old who I'm advising and paying for where she's going to go to school. And I think what Ithaca does an incredible job of is it helps you focus on what you want to do with the rest of your life. And I was lucky that I knew I wanted to get involved in sports, so I got a degree in sports management. And it's been my passion and my career and what I do. And it's led us to this moment. So to Mark's point, he's not lying. I was at the NFL, he was at the NBA. We both had a patented idea around basketball. His was court grip. Mine was an idea about integrating towels into your shorts, which we patented and built a basketball brand around. So here we are, 12, 13 years later, and we've got deals with NBA teams and a bunch of AU, and one of our best customers, Pat McAllister's out in the audience.
Woo!
And
97.
and to Mark's point for putting this whole thing together, so much of it is based around who you know, the depth of your relationships, and how important they are. So again, to echo what Mark said, congrats to the students for being here. It's the most important thing you guys can do is put yourself out there and engage in discussions and say hello and introduce yourselves to us when we're coming off the stage. But that's the most important thing that's out there. Cultivate your network, get to know other people, and someday you'll sit up here on the stage and look like Ty.
Definitely. You're an entrepreneur, for sure.
Now I can insult these guys, except Joanna.
Yep.
Truly saving the
They
best
can.
for last. Ben Zebelman, so much talent at Ithaca College. Like, so much talent. I remember meeting Ben and saying to myself, like, holy shit, this guy is so good at what he does. And looking back, we were so young. He was a college athlete and just a rock star in the music school. And getting involved in school, I was working on a bunch of TV shows. I was producing TV shows at Ithaca. And Ben was composing, and we just said, hey, let's work together. And we've been working together ever since, and I'm humbled because he'll start talking about the movies that he scored, the commercials that he scored, and an amazing thought partner and a brilliant composer, Ben.
Woo!
30 seconds.
Well, you're my publicist now.
No,
I'm going to stop paying. Yeah, it's not. 30 seconds. Wow. For me, I don't have to personally market myself because what I do, my last project is my calling card. And
What was the last project?
Operation Arctic Cure premiered on Nat Geo on February 19th, followed Bob Woodruff taking a whole bunch of Iraq and Afghanistan vets
Oh my God.
in search of the science of awe.
Wow.
And it's on Disney Plus and Hulu now, and it's one of my
Give it up for
favorite
that.
projects that I've worked on. And
Court grip. Right? Court grip and then that.
yeah, cork grip. Well, most fulfilling.
Right.
What's been interesting about that project is that there's been such incredible feedback, because I thought working on it, it's about these really, PTSD and traumatic brain injury Iraq and Afghanistan vets that are trying to find some peace through non-standard avenues. And the feedback, as I'm looking around online after the fact, was so many people in like the yoga space, a lot of the non-traditional medicine space. People are just like, wow, this is speaking to me. People are showing it in classes and everything. So it's been really fun. But anyways, my pitch is me. Reaching out, connecting with people, doing music. There's not any job, any situation, any type of project, whether it's a ridiculously tight deadline or a long one, I can get it done. And I've been betting on myself. This is my January 3rd. I remember this because I came to New York City and started in my first gig, January 3rd, 1999. So I'm in year 25. And I've never had a paycheck. I got kid in college, when going to college, we got a roof over our head, everything's pretty solid, and never taught a piano lesson, because an advisor of mine years ago, he's like, if you're gonna write music, you can't teach a piano lesson, because you're gonna step out of your lane. You gotta stay there. And of course, being able to work with Mark, on a number of occasions on really cool stuff. When you were talking about the cork grip,
Yeah.
I don't know if that guy if he was an intern,
Yeah.
but you remember you had the piece of flooring.
Tell that story.
Yeah, he called me up. Your office, I forget, was that Madison or something?
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah, and I had a studio on Park Ave South in 26th, and he called me up, and anytime I see Mark on my phone, it's like, yeah, and he's like, hey, I got this thing I'm working on, and we just shot this commercial, the said commercial that you were talking about, right? And he's like, I want to get some music going for it. I'm like, all right, cool, where are you? And he's like, I got this office. Okay, I'll be there. Probably there like 15 minutes later, go up. And we were talking, and he's telling me about Dwayne Wade and this and that. I'm like, so wait, what is this product? And I was a lacrosse player, so I am the worst. You want to see the worst basketball player in the world? He's right here.
No, sorry.
I understand the passing. Yeah, okay, maybe it's you.
Yeah,
right, because I understand the passing concepts and how it moves, but I got no shot because I ski raced in the winter, and lacrosse is my main thing.
I know that.
So he's telling me what he's looking for, and I was really, if I remember, I was really big in the mnemonic space at that time. I had just done the new mnemonic for GE's Imagination at Work when GE rolled out their whole new thing. And I had just, after I think it was like the 79th execution of a 3-note idea for what they called the meatball, which is the chrome-looking GE logo at the end, I got that. That was pretty cool. And I'm up singing with Mark, and he's telling me about it. I'm like, and I think you said something like, when you squeak, that's good. And he had this little piece of flooring, like it was like from Foot Locker or something, I don't know what it was. And he had, I think he had a shoe, and you could roll, and you go, and it was like going, doing its squeak, squeak. And I was like, I think that could be like, we got to build it around that. And then you have one of your interns came in, and he put the shoes on, and I had my iPhone, and I literally held it down at the floor, and the guy's going like, and Mark was talking, like, shh, stop talking.
Shut up.
And I'm like recording it, and then I took it back to my studio, and I think a few days later, I sent you a tune built around,
Just a squeak.
He sent that to me, and I was like,
yeah.
that's it.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, thank you. So I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna look at my notes. Mike, let's start with you. What was your entrepreneurial, introduction at Ithaca? What did you do that got you to say, yeah, I want to build my business at some point?
Ooh, good question. I think one of the beautiful things about college in general, and specifically Ithaca and its size and the way that it's split up into schools, is you have the ability to really make a difference and try some things. So I was, as Mark said, I was lucky. When I went off to school, I got a degree in sport management. I was the president of Sport Management Club. And Buff State, still a rival, right? Is that still a thing? The Buff State football game every year was a big deal. And we decided for the Sport Management Club as a fundraiser to make T-shirts. And we came up with the whole concept, made T-shirts, probably raised a couple grand at the time. And I was like, oh, the idea of starting and seeing through a project to completion was really appealing to me. Now, my journey was I worked at Major League Baseball for 6 years. I worked at the National Football League for 4 years after that. And I actually got into running my own business, I don't want to say accidentally, but it's because it was the best opportunity at the time. But once you catch the bug, you just kind of roll with it. And I think once you experience what it's like to work for yourself or in a small business context, for many, it's hard to go back to the big corporate life. You get rooted in a groove of, the beauty of having an idea, seeing it through to completion, and then it wins or it loses on its own merit. Those are things that you can't always do at a bigger company. So I think being able to have a chance at testing that at Ithaca and then taking a decade or so off and then coming back to it was really gratifying.
I feel like you overcharged me for that shirt, by the way.
For sure I did, 100%. Remember, because it was a ringer and your arms were so big.
Thank you.
It was extra fabric.
Anybody have a
Mirror muscles.
Anybody else have a cool Ithaca origin, hey, I like this story?
I went to, so I took a publishing class back when magazines were cool, and it was publishing writing.
Magazines are still very cool.
Sorry, I know. And they were. I was in it. And I realized I didn't want to write it. I wanted to be the business behind it. And so the professor was like, just go to NYU. There's like whole institutes for this. And at the time, Harvard had one and NYU had one. And this was my senior year. I was marketing and nutrition minor at that time. And I went to NYU's summer publishing program just because she told me you were not going to be able to write. You're not a writer. Go be the business behind it. Harvard wasn't as good as NYU, and that's what I did.
Awesome.
I have so I had the reason I chose Ithaca was my parents let me choose which school I was going to go to. And I was like, I'm like, Mom, Dad, could have, made a suggestion, but I'm glad I chose. Anyway, the thing that I liked the most is that as a freshman in Park, you had the ability to touch equipment. And most other schools, it was like junior year, you had to wait. So that was a big deal for me because that by the time I was a sophomore, I was heavily engaged in production, and I realized that I had the ability to not only come up with an idea for a show, but also then pull the people together that were interested in doing that thing, and then we just did it. And it was like, oh my God, I just stood something up that it was an idea, Tuesday, and now on Saturday we're actually shooting this thing, and the enthusiasm, which I think is a similar theme across everyone here who was in the panelists and practically everyone is in the audience, is like there's a little bit of you gotta do it yourself and lean in, and if you leaning in to I'll just try it and it will probably suck, but maybe it won't, and the best part about it is the people that care enough about it, you get to be like, oh my God, I actually dig this completely, and having that repeated benefit and positive upward spiraling funnel of that worked, and you get this sort of confidence I could probably pull this off. And so since then, I would say that every single thing I sort of enter into, no matter how hard the Mount Everest is to climb, I'm like, well, I'm at base camp 0, and in a year I'll be at base camp 1, and I'll get to 2, and you sort of get up the hill. And if you don't have that history of having success doing that, it's actually hard to sort of do that. So I think Ithaca gave me that gift.
Awesome.
I've got a dirty little secret.
Oh.
Boy.
Yeah, so I'm Park School. Who's Park here?
Woo! Park, nailing it.
Yeah, I just wanted to cheer.
Park in the house.
If you are, when you're figuring out your concentrations at Park, I noticed there was a class that we had to take, which was called document research.
Documentary research.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was, I believe you had to write a 300-page paper?
Yes.
If I recall?
Ben Crane, thank you.
Ben Crane, there you go. So
Hard
my
ass.
advisor was John Hockheimer, great guy. Thank you, Pat. And Hawk, as they would call him. And I went in there and said, John, just question for you. How do I avoid this class? and he said, well,
You can't.
let me look it up real quick. And he said, actually, if you become an ad PR concentration, you do not have to take that class.
Smart.
Or
And I said, that sounds good to me. And I guess like the lesson would be that I've continued to apply is just walk through that door. Like you just don't know what's going to happen. You might as well walk through it, have the conversation. Maybe you still stay where you are, but there's a chance that maybe you have a conversation, it opens up a whole new door. So that was the lesson I took from that, and I still apply that to this day.
Nice.
Yeah.
For all of us, whether entrepreneurs, getting customers is the most important thing that we do. And it's the hardest. So when you think about your business plan, how are you going to get customers? How are you going to get passionate customers that keep coming back, that are going to, cheer your brand's name and encourage it? So I'd love to hear from everybody. How do you go about getting new customers? So like you're a great example. You left a big agency to start your own business. How did you get Netflix? How did you get Post Malone? How did you get them to gravitate towards your new endeavor?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, I think just being sort of true to who you are. So, I'm not the guy who, when I worked in advertising, I started as a writer, I became a creative director, executive creative director, and then ran entire creative departments. And I just treated everybody with respect. I always felt like this is a place for creativity. I've always interested in sort of creative and commerce. And so it's interesting, as you say, like customers, I look at it as two things. One is my customer would be like really the team that I'm building. It's about recruitment. So how do I get the people who kind of went off and do other things? We all start in this little room and you're coming up with creative ideas. And suddenly one of those guys 20 years later is running creative direction for Netflix. And when he has a job and he needs someone to get it done and understands that this is somebody who he can work with, I think that's a major thing. There's a lot of people that can do great work. There's not a ton of people that do great work and also are great to work with. Mm-hmm. And I've sort of earned that reputation through my life. And so, those people came to me. And to be honest, the other side of that would be brands. So in my world with advertising, when people are just done with ad agencies, they're pretty much like, I'm going brand side. I'm going client side. I'm going to go work on that. I'm going to hire agencies. And so those are the people who call me. Those are the people who said, I liked being with you in that room. And now I'm going to call you when I have this specific initiative or project.
So great example of B2B. Mike, you're in the B2C. How are you getting customers, and what advice do you give to somebody that's thinking about building a new business? How do you get customers, especially your customer, very different demographic than yourself? What work goes into that?
You start by being nice to Pat McAllister, who's been one of our longest running customers for a long time. Listen, the running, Michael can probably speak better than I can to what it takes to build a B2C business. There's no secret sauce. There's a lot to it. I think in an entrepreneurship context, the most important lesson I can give is resiliency. You will get knocked down. You will fail a lot. The term pivot basically means I fucked up and I'm trying again. And you just have to iterate and try again. So I think there's a certain amount of, my first investor, who's a super successful entrepreneur, we've been running this business for 13 years, and we just get hit again and again, and some things go great. There's a wonderful entrepreneurship cartoon, and it's the exact same 6 drawings, and the little speech bubble above says, shit, 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 woohoo, shit, shit. It's basically like you get a lot more down than you get up. So what I would say is resiliency is the superpower of the entrepreneur. You will fail, and it will sting, and you've got to get up and try it again. So I think in a broad context, that's a big part of it. In a narrow context and in a B2C, I mean, that's anyone up here would probably give you the exact same advice. In a B2C context, I think really having a clear understanding of who your consumer is. So in our world, for example, probably the biggest driver of our business is we sell to a lot of coaches. And we have certain programs that are designed specifically to reach those coaches. And then we also sell to consumers. And that's what, if you go to point3gear.com, it'll look like a consumer-facing website. We have a different message for the coach than we do for the consumer, because the coach is a 20 to 35-year-old ex-basketball player who's trying to give back to their community. And the consumer is someone who wants to still buy the gear. So again, this is sort of marketing 101, 201, I don't know where it falls in the context, but it's having a very clear understanding of who your consumer is and then catering the message specifically to that.
Do you learn to love the problems now?
Always.
Yeah, you love the
just
problems.
punch me in the face. It's good. I'm used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, when you get them now, you're like, oh, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it's
I
used
can see
to it.
that one
Yeah.
coming.
So Josh, you're getting major corporations
Yeah.
that are either switching from another legacy agency, and you took a gamble going to Quad,
Yeah.
big agency, but you were tasked with, we got to make Quad cool because
Yeah.
you've made things
It's ultra
cool.
not cool at the time.
How do you get new customers?
So for those of you that don't know the history of Quad, it's interesting. Quad Graphics was originally the name of the company. It was 53 years old now. 47 or 45 of them were all in manufacturing, printing magazines, catalogs, and mail. By the way, 11% of your mail we send you, you're welcome. The problem with that is everyone thinks of Quad and like, yeah, the printer, right? And like, yes, and these other things. So the interesting challenge is you get someone to come, you go into a client meeting and you're like, and frankly, I don't get invited to them as much as I'd like to, but when they bring in they want the big dog, as I get called every now and then, or they call me Jazz Hands and Fancy Pants also, by the way. I'm not like this, isn't the pants. But you get to go into a conversation where you're talking to a client and they're saying, listen, we know you as our printer. It's like a plumber. The plumber comes in, I'm fixing your dishwasher disposal. The plumber stands up, pulls up his pants, and covers his butt, and is like, your kitchen cabinets are not totally organized the way that they should be for this kitchen to be functional. And whoever's at the house is like, could you just fix the dishwasher disposal, please? Yes. Of course I can fix your dishwasher disposal, but also I'm a kitchen experience person. I actually not only focus on the dishwasher disposal, but your entire kitchen experience. And this is the problem for clients. They think of us as the printer, but we have this 10 agencies and 15 production companies that allow us to handle in-store, your direct mail, your data. Imagine we send 200. It's 89% of the country's mail. Three times a week, we touch 89% of the country. So we have as much of a media channel as the Super Bowl every day. Wow. So it's a massive reach. So the data that we have is enormous. I know that you love dogs and yoga. I know that you love cats and what did you say, downhill skiing? Sure. Yeah, that one. So the point is we know all those data pieces. So when we're able to talk to a new client, you go in with we're going to fix your dishwasher disposal. Of course we can do that, but we can also do these other things. And I describe the Tarzan metaphor, which I use a lot, which is Tarzan can't swing across the whole jungle with one vine, right? You have to go little tree and a little tree, another tree, and then you're across the jungle. So when you start with a direct mail conversation, it's very logical to data and maybe a little bit of creative, but you can't leap into, and we're going to do your in-store at H&R Block. Like, it's too far. So you go slowly concentric circles out. So clients come in, you solve their pain. You solve their pain first, and then you slowly expand out. So the 3,000 clients that we're dealing with, all of them are very, very interested in hearing, well, what's the next most logical thing that Quad could do for us? So those things are growing very easily, and everyone who's an entrepreneur knows that getting the first customer is really hard. But once they are a customer, you can say like, well, I can do +1 and +2 and +3 for you. So for us, so many people already, I'm sure we printed that like Ithaca College banner over there. Like we print everything. So imagine the capacity for a person who already has so much client access to just expand a small bit is actually very easy. So it's not as hard as it sounds, but getting them to start to appreciate the fact that we have other areas of access is extraordinarily valuable. But it's the story and oh yeah, I'm willing to work with you guys because you're good people. And I think it's another theme that is really coming up. It's the thing that I hammer constantly is do not work at a place and do not be at a place that you do not enjoy the people that you're working with on a day-to-day basis because you will end up hating that job, no doubt. And so the best part about working with people in Midwest is they're really nice people. And I hired some wonderful people here in New York as well, and we have a wonderful expansion of that. But I believe that is an absolute key message for certainly finding and exploring where you want to be every day is a place where you enjoy who you're working with.
Ben, you talked a little bit about getting new customers for you. People can just look at your latest work, but you've been doing this a long time. Yeah. You've got major brands that are coming to you to score their projects. How do you go about getting new customers? And what advice would you give to somebody that's thinking about starting a business?
Sure. I think it took me a bunch of years, but you have to have this sort of internal, I guess, voice or alarm. You have to have this internal mechanism for assessing who the serious people are. And that is something that kind of comes through trial and error. My first, 8-9 years in the entertainment and music business I was doing at that time exclusively TV commercials, like the big 30-second commercials, probably from 2000 to 2006. I averaged probably 2 Super Bowl commercials every Super Bowl, which was a really important litmus test. I don't know if it's quite as important today as it was a decade ago. So I'm making phone calls to creative directors and art directors and junior creative directors and junior art directors at ad agencies and trying to figure out who are the really serious people, because people will take your call and the conflict that I would always feel is I'm the self-employed person who's trying to get this done. I'm talking to a lot of people that have a paycheck, and that's a really interesting rub that I could always detect. There's a lack of urgency, generally speaking, when somebody is getting a W-2 at the end of the year. They can kind of coast through a week, and no one's going to usually notice. Every day is like reinventing the wheel. Every day, not just Monday. Because what worked last week might have absolutely, at least in my world, no application to next week. And that's kind of fun. It also is terrifying, but it's also fun, and that just becomes a thing. And if you can't handle that after 2 or 3 years, you will find something else to do. But anyways, back to what I first started saying, is you need to assess who are these people that when I talk to them, they're open. And I think that's the most important sort of litmus test. You can detect who is open, meaning I have so many phone calls back when it was more on the phone where I would call people, I would call like a music producer at an ad agency or a creative director, and they would say, I'm all set with music. I'd be like, you mean for what you're working on right now? No, I'm just all set. And I would be like, hang up the phone. I'm like, that person sucked.
Yeah.
Good, enjoy yourself. You find these other people, well, what do? What have you done? I do this. Oh, I like that. Oh, that's good music in that, And sometimes it was like, a pharmaceutical commercial or something that no one would say it's sexy, but it's selling a lot of stuff. And they realize, wow, somebody trusted you to handle that thing. Mm-hmm. You're okay. And the open people is what I started to find is that's like alarm bells that go off in my head. They're open because who is all set with anything until I'm dead and in the ground. I'm open. I'm open to new technologies, new software, new people to hang out with, and I'm desperate for it because in my line of work, it's a little different from these guys. I lead a little bit of a monk-like existence. It's me surrounded by a lot of expensive equipment, and every once in a while I let myself out. I take a trip to LA and actually meet with people, but it's a lot of sending a link out. I did this. They're trusted with that. It's definitely different now, especially I found when I crossed being 40 years old. If you're still in the game, everybody at that point is pretty good. And now everybody's a decision maker. It was a lot harder when we were in our 20s and stuff. You're talking to a junior art director at BBDO who's one of 10 junior art directors for an executive creative director, and they just want to get maybe a color that they picked out in the next Snickers commercial or something like that. But I'm now I go through LinkedIn sometimes, and even though I'm not quite as attached to advertising, I'm more in the long form film and documentary feature space now. I look through and I'm like, wow, that guy's a creative director at Apple, and this person's a creative director at Verizon, and this person is I'm like, wow, I was definitely talking to some of the right people, or I was just talking to everybody, and some people made it and some didn't. But I think the biggest thing is you have to assess who's open. Don't waste your time. People, don't make one call dissuade you, because maybe that person who told me they're all set with music, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe I misunderstood their reference. Maybe they literally meant my next 6 projects, I'm good for like 10 months. I am all set. But I definitely got that sometimes. And those people, I was like, forget about you. All right, moving on. Only so much time you have in a day.
Joanna, I want to switch to routine. I think you set such a great example. As an entrepreneur and just in life, walk us through any of your routines in a week, in a day. And I'm curious if any of those started when you were at Ithaca, or any advice you would give to somebody about
I'm staring at his backpack. Is that swimming? Yeah, go Bombers. I swam through Ithaca as well, and road crew. So yes, obviously routine. It's funny, I didn't know it was an interview, but I guess it's an interview with the CEO of a company that's raised $66 million and just wanted my opinion of his software. And I'm like, I still don't know what it does. So we were talking, and he's like, I have some questions for you. Well, that was his question. He's like, give me your average week. And I think he was just quizzing me, because there is no average week. I can wake up at 5 a.m. I am always on, which is not necessarily the best way to be. I nap a lot, but the word always on, people just think I'm always available, reachable, communicative, all those things. So I think that the idea of being always on started in Ithaca. I rode crew at 4:30 a.m., run down to the boathouse, got tortured, ate Tums as dessert, and rode, did sit-ups in the sauna, all those things. So I did that for many years, and then moved to New York. I taught group fitness classes before I got a real job. So I've always had that early morning, always on mentality. And then now, today, I'm talking to brands in Saudi Arabia, China, India, at all hours. There is no time. So from an international perspective, I think you can't be rigid these days, but you kind of have to fit it all in. I don't want to say you don't have a work-life balance, because we obviously all do. I think that's where it all started. The one thing I would say about routine and just kind of who you are as a person is just to know who you are. Like, if you're the person that wants to go to an office every day and commingle with people, you should do that. I hate saying good morning and spending an hour wasting time on the coffee thing in the morning, but I do. It's such a waste of time. It is, let's be honest. But it's really fun. You love it. I get it. The torture. So I've never.
How are you? You had a good weekend? Good.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that. Torture. But at 25, I was working from home. So the whole pandemic life and the entrepreneurship since, there was never an on button. I'm the person that responds at 5 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock at night. I'm always reachable. So
yeah. Anybody else have any unique rituals or routines that you would share with a group that have been helpful?
Yeah. We had in the music school, and I hope they're still doing it, they had a required course. You had to take it at some point before you graduated. It was like this very easy seminar where they brought people from industry to speak to us. And it was a big light bulb moment for me. I think it was the drummer from the Blue Oyster Cult, who I think lived in Syracuse. Wow. And they brought him in, and he said every day, like 70% of his day is networking, calling. This is like when email was just starting. This is like probably 95, but networking, calling, and practicing the drums and prepping for gigs was the least of his day. And that really stuck with me, because even to this day, I mess this up all the time. I can get in really good grooves, 100 emails a day, outgoing, feeling really good, and I'm like writing each one. Yeah. I am not a cut and paste. Like, if there was there's AI detection, if there was cut and paste detection, you will not find it in my emails. I write emails to people, keep them short, but get through them. And I feel really good when I'm doing that. When I get involved deep on projects, I always screw it up, and I stop. The networking machine stops, and it'll be like 6 weeks, sometimes 4 months, and then I start having this panic. Yeah. So I need to do better with that. Well, you say, you should have a manager. I don't want to pay a manager. And there's I know one manager guy that I know in LA, but he's more handles EDM guys and songwriters. And he's a good friend of mine. He wouldn't do well for me. So I need somebody for that. But at the same time, I'm figuring it out. But you gotta network. And I got that out of one class. And I also wanted to say, when you're at school, if you're thinking days and days and days, or weeks and weeks, or a whole semester go by and something magical hasn't happened for you, that's okay, because here I am nearly 30 years later, and that one moment of a seminar class, probably 4 seconds of it, stuck with me to this day. That this professional, world-renowned musician guy is like telling me being on the phone, networking, and planning your future engagements is the most important, vital thing he does every day, and it's super unsexy, but it's the most important.
I think every industry, everybody needs to do it. Mike, Ty, anything ritual or routine?
I was going to say, I mean, as creative guy, I'm always looking for outlets for creativity. So the same way one might exercise, I'm just trying to find things to kind of keep me busy on that. So I'm a writer represented at CAA, and so I'll continually write screenplays for that. I have something I just wrote for Jennifer Lawrence. We'll see if it gets made. I have exactly 0 made right now, but who knows? But I stay at it. I like it. I just like the idea of creating tangible things that exist. I also started a podcast, so something for me to just do. I have a partner who's really great on the production side. It's fun. It's meant for entertainment, but it kind of just keeps the brain percolating. And that's nice to do. It just sort of to feel like creative progress. As a creative individual, you get it sometimes at work, but you don't always get it. And so this is something that's ownable to you, that's for you. So
It's a big mistake to think that the job or whatever you're doing is going to be as fulfilling as it. I make it a habit actually of keeping 2 or 3 side hustles just going, because you never know when that shit's going to hit the fan. You're like, oh well, that didn't work, and now I'm screwed. So if you have your own brand and you're pushing your own momentum and you're pushing your own agenda, it does allow you to sort of have that angle for sure.
He moved it.
I've touched my mic. Oh, it's so much. Don't touch my mic. Okay, got it. We're
Mike,
gonna flip it.
anything on your end?
I had an advisor tell me, as a leader of a company, he breaks his day down into thirds. And it's a pretty simple concept. It's a third of getting out of the shits, it's a third of dealing with your day-to-day, and it's a third of growth. And if you can maintain that as each day, it's a really good point of practice. Because again, as the leader of a company, you can get pulled into some stuff that you don't always want to get pulled into. That's the getting out of the shits. There's the stuff you have to do every day. And obviously, as leader of the company, you want to focus on the long-term growth. But if you can parse it out, a third, it tends to be an ideal and often unachievable way to structure your day.
Really helpful. I know we don't have a lot of time. We have 5 minutes, so open it up to the group for questions.
It's pressure. Dun, 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 dun. All the students are like, oh shit, now there's one in the back. There's.
Stand up and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Aiden. I'm a computer science major at college. You said that majority of entrepreneurs is failing. Can you give us an example of failure?
I'll get.
one?
Yeah.
How do you want?
Which one?
Yeah.
I'll give an interesting one. I'll give an interesting one. I'll try to do it quick because it touches a few of us up here. I came up with an idea for what we thought and what is to this day white space. So solving a problem that hadn't been solved before. And at the time, we all had younger kids, and this was starting to really take off, as was the iPad, in terms of where kids were getting their entertainment. We wanted to create a television show that got kids excited and actually up and moving when the TV was on. So the childhood obesity epidemic was doing this. Youth sports was doing this. So what I've done with all of these folks, in addition to other folks outside of Ithaca, is just try to surround myself with people a lot smarter than me. So we wanted to create a kids television show, and literally broke it down to who are the smartest people that can help us develop a show that gets kids excited about fitness. We got the #1 youth fitness expert in the country, Bill Parisi. Got the co-creator of the Power Rangers, Shooky Levy.
Shoki.
Got the best music composer in the world and got the best writer in the world. So it goes back to Ty's point, people I can work with. So Ty, help me find good kids writers that we can work with. We need a production company. So Use the Network found the production company that eventually went bankrupt. But And one of the unique concepts that made it different for us was, if you think about Sesame Street, you see Jack Black playing the guitar. It's cool for the parents from a co-viewing standpoint. The name of our property called Fit Team 5, we're going to have a celebrity athlete in every episode. So CAA Sports, an agency that I've worked with on a ton of projects, becomes a partner in the project. So they're going to provide a celebrity athlete, and Dwayne Wade is going to be the executive producer with us. So we think we've got every box checked. And Kenley, we had every box checked. And with the production partner that we were working with, they weren't carrying their weight. I was working very closely with Derek Jeter at the time. He was going to get slimed at the Nickelodeon Sports Awards. And I said, Derek, you got to do me a favor. Like, we've got this pitch ready to go. Just come to this meeting with me at Nickelodeon. He does. We sell it on the spot to Nickelodeon. In the room, they said, have you showed this to Disney yet? No. We're going to send you a term sheet tomorrow. He and I, in LA, after the Knicks Sports Awards, go out, party our asses off. Cloud nine. Responsibly. The next day, we get a term sheet. Multi-million-dollar contract from Nickelodeon, 3 seasons. Literally made for TV movie script. The next day after that, front page of the Wall Street Journal, Relativity files for bankruptcy. They had nothing to do with the project, didn't do any work on it, didn't think of the idea. And I've got a co-production contract with them. So I go to them and say, hey guys, you didn't lift a finger, we're gonna go our separate ways. The creditors that they owe $300 million to said, no, there's a $30 million contract, they're not walking away from this. So, failure. We could have failed. I spent a lot of personal money getting the best entertainment lawyer to go to bankruptcy court for 6 months, and we got our rights back. So now, we're not going to make that same mistake twice. Let's go find a really responsible production company. We found the best. They brought in great talent around us. Everybody's reinvigorated. Some new smart people. Hey, Ben, why don't you try this with the music? Why don't you try that? We start changing it up. Let's go back to Nickelodeon. Go back to Nickelodeon. The woman who had greenlit the project, no longer there. That's going to happen, right, in every industry that you're in. And we're in the meeting, and the woman who's now in the seat said, oh, Fit Team 5, I remember this. Yeah, I can't pick this up. The predecessor was her show. I can't do it. No problem. Let's go to Disney. No thanks. Let's go to Netflix. No thanks. Let's go to Apple. No thanks. So we struck out. Don't quit, right? It goes back to don't quit. I think you and I did the math. We got 45 rejections at one point on this. Kept going back.
Mark, you kept. I remember one time I was just up at my parents' house up in Rochester, and he's like, "Got another pitch. I need you to change the voiceover." I was the voiceover for the pitch, along the music, and I had to go and I bought a microphone at the House of Guitars in Rochester. I had my laptop, and I literally like put like a blanket over my head to make it sound like a studio, like a dead space, and I got it back to him. I don't even know if if I did that. You don't bother people with problems. You just have to be a can-do person. Keep going.
So after that, no, we had pitched everybody at this point. So it's a failure at this point. A lot of money went into it, a lot of sweat and tears, and not just my sweat and tears. My friends are in it, my business partners are in it. So going back to networking, after Ithaca, working in the sports industry for a long time, I was really, really fortunate. I encourage everybody, when you get to this point in your career, specifically to the business of entertainment, media, and sports, Harvard has an executive program. And there's always a ton of celebrities that are part of it. Unbelievable networking in my career. I go to this, 4 days, you're in the Harvard amphitheater, you don't really know who's who, it's the last night, everybody goes out. The new head of entertainment for Nickelodeon's in my class. Start talking, yeah, I've got this kid show I've been working on. Oh yeah, no, I remember Fit Team 5, whatever happened to that? Well, you guys rejected it the second time. No, come in, I'm gonna introduce you to the CEO. Can you bring Dwayne Wade to the meeting? Absolutely. Are you telling me this is gonna happen? It's gonna happen. We go to the meeting, Nickelodeon, bring Dwayne Wade, all the agents, everyone from Nickelodeon shows up. He says no.
Sorry, not laughing.
So failure. Keep failing. Fail fast.
Yeah.
Then COVID hits. And I call him up and I say, no one is going to the gym. Kids aren't in school. Nobody's exercising. Let's change the idea. Like, don't have too much pride. I said, we've got all these celebrity athletes committed to this. Let's just do a 5-minute workout with the pros for little kids, things that you could do at home. Let's bring it to Netflix. Go to Netflix. All on Zoom. We really like this, but we like the original idea better. Can we have that? So long story short, we failed 1 million times. Netflix ends up optioning it, but they never produced it. So that's a failure. And that's a long, painful failure.
6 years, right?
6 years.
Yeah.
6 years of 40+ rejections.
But the success was the journey.
Success was
It
a
us.
And I learned it connected you to your beverage thing, right?
What's that?
Didn't it connect you to your beverage guy?
It connected me. I said it earlier
Yeah,
on.
I didn't know that. I learned
So the failure was tied to the gentleman I met at Relativity who did Body Armor and all those guys. And fast forward, we ended up merging and putting a business together with Keurig Dr. Pepper. But there's 1 million failures. I mean, Mike's honest and truthful.
You don't need to talk. Don't talk about my stuff up here. No. I am a walking success story, guys. There has never been a down moment, okay?
That's what she said. Sorry.
The only thing I'll say is you hear the word entrepreneur thrown around a lot. Social media, whatever. You guys walk the walk, talk the talk. Titans. This is like a true meaning of an entrepreneur, not the fake news.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's our plant Don McCarra, everybody. Thank you.
I didn't hear a question, but I agree with you. Yes.
It was more of a statement. So thank you guys.
That first, that's the question. Yes.
How do we encourage the young students in front of us to start a business, startup, whatever you want to call it, now, not when they graduate?
Don't start now. Go be a salesperson. Learn how to, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to get no, and realize that 10% winning is a win. And you got to work for smart people that teach you the things. We were talking about this earlier. Let's do our ad lib. It's not what you do, it's who you know and how thoughtful you are along the way. Who are you as a person? And if you don't know that yet, don't go spending other people's money.
I'll offer one counter to that. I don't disagree with you, but I do think there's a certain amount of entrepreneurship which is ready, fire, aim.
Sure.
And I think there are certain times.
Ready, aim, fire, or ready, fire, aim?
No, ready, fire, aim.
Okay, get ready.
do it.
Okay.
Come up with an
Fly the plane
idea,
without the plane.
Fire.
do your best, and then figure out where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I think you do have to look inward and figure out, am I the type of person that might want to work for another company, might want to work for myself? And that's a hard question, and you might try it, and it might not work. And the beauty of being young, to your point, is you can fail, and you'll have a chance to do it again and again. So I think there's probably, again, a lot of it is much like I was saying before about knowing your consumers, know yourself. And if you feel like you might be the type of person that might want to start something on your own or you have a great idea, give it a shot. Because trust me, before you have a partner, children, real responsibilities, the stakes are quite low. And as you get on in your life, it gets more and more challenging to do something like this.
I'll add to that with 2 thoughts. So when we built Court Grip, which ended up becoming Mission, I had a full-time job at NBC. And I was running a big business unit, and I was moonlighting. So never off. Literally never off. Have the idea. Hired a bunch of amazing interns. So I think that's another important entree, kind of piggybacking off what Joanna said, was whatever you're passionate about, whatever industry your idea is, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to start this on my own, there's somebody that's 10 steps ahead of you, not with that specific idea, but in that industry. Go find those people. I'll work for free. I want to help you with this journey. Because now you're building the network in the industry and the category that you want to go. It contradicts what you're asking. I would never have had the success that I've had I not built a business at NBC. I made so many mistakes, but I met so many people that the network's critical. So to Johanna's point, go become a salesperson. You could start a business while working somewhere else. I think that's really important. But I encourage everybody, whatever you're passionate about, there's 10 people just like us in that industry that have already raised $5-10 million for their startup, that if you call them and said, I'd love to help, they're going to take your help, and you're going to build a network very quickly, and you're going to learn a lot of best practices, mistakes. We listed all the mistakes that we made. If you're around other entrepreneurs early in the stage, you'll learn from their mistakes and build a network along the way.
That was the one. I was just going to chime in here. You know, when on LinkedIn, everyone reaches out and you're like all incentivized. Write them a note. Write them a note asking how you can help them, which is exactly what you're saying. Because everyone wants help. But if you can be an intern, or, I mean, you tell me you're doing something, I'm like, how can I help? It's just that question. People don't ask that enough. So if you are in the position to help, even if it's just your time or energy or connections or, you know, someone to hand out, don't quit at the next sporting event. I mean,
Did we answer your question?
probably not.
Anybody else?
Let's take advantage of the bar to continue the conversation.
Wow, true Ithaca talk.
There you go. Go Bombers.
It's only been 2 years at Ithaca, but I think, you know, all good conversations continue at the bar. But before we do that, first of all, I'm going to say thank you to the panelists. And I think we also... The vision for the Bomber Entrepreneurship Network is literally just to start great conversations about entrepreneurship across the generations. So whether it's students, whether it's folks who've actually walked the walk and talked the, you know, and actually done this, whether it's folks who are looking to mentor, you know, at a different stage of their career, it's really about bringing bombers together across generations, across the silos, wherever we can actually have events like this. There's actually a calendar for next year. We're going to have some live events. We're actually going to try to go to other cities as well as kind of revisit, bring new topics to places we've been already, as well as some virtual events. So keep an eye out, watch the socials, and please keep engaged with this, because I think it's really a great venue for the conversations to continue. On that theme, first, we have a little thank you gift for the members of the panel.
Very excited.
A little swag, I think.
Thank you. I have a quick request for everybody, because we are all entrepreneurs. Ty's got an unbelievable podcast I ask everybody to download and listen. Ty, what's the name?
It's called Pyramid the Podcast.
And
Pat's our one listener right now.
Explain what it is.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Quickly.
Okay. So it's a ranking show where we essentially put everything in their proper ranking as we see fit, but it's a pyramid shape. So the best is at tier 1, then tier 2, and it widens out.
So you did Arnold's
We rank
movies?
everything from Arnold Schwarzenegger movies to Chips to songs that have ladies' names in it, like all kinds of things. So it's a good pod.
Mike, for any and all
Read at 2 speed.
basketball gamers, where should they find you?
We're point3gear.com. We've just launched a backpack product line with an MBA license.
Is Ithaca buying your stuff?
You know, this is a great entrepreneur.
Mike.
You're on.
This is how we pay for my travel here.
Yeah, the third of the day.
No, we're point3gear.com. We just got a license with the NBA. We're about to launch with Major League Baseball. We have a backpack product, so next year I'll expect that Ithaca bag.
There we go.
There we go. Ben,
Yeah.
is the school using you? Are you scoring anything for Ithaca right now? And how can the group follow you and be helpful?
Follow me. You know, it's weird with my work. I have so many NDAs for everything I do, and it's really like sometimes I'm worried when you go on IMDb, and I had this period of time in 2023 where I had 3 amazing projects going, and for some reason they were all related with Disney, and they don't do in production credits, like in production. And I'm like, God, there's all these people are gonna think I'm like completely unemployed for the whole year. And I'm literally, I kept saying like, when are you going to put it out? When are you gonna put this thing out? So, you know, my website's kind of interesting if you want to hear my music. So you can get there either at octavemusic.com or when I finally got an agent a couple years ago, he said, no more production company name. It's about you. So benzebelman.com.
Josh?
So that's me.
I am going to say I have a lot of different things. I'm pushing my LinkedIn right now because I think that it's really, I've actually started to have a little angle on this, and it pushes both the content that I think is important, but also sort of lessons to live by, if you will. So Josh Golden on LinkedIn, just give that a whirl.
Joanna.
I'm happy to share all the social medias. I do a move of the day if you guys need a workout idea.
I need that.
You do that? I dare you to.
I would.
But otherwise, so my startup is paused right now, and I'm playing consultant for much larger companies to build or buy. So if you care about the fitness industry in any way, reach out.
I have one quick thing I just have to say, especially for the young folks. The best thing you can do is service. And I think the best example of that's our boy right here, who helped put the whole thing together and invited us and is constantly looking around and asking, what can I do for my friends, my coworkers, my people? And really, if there's a lesson for entrepreneurs in your network, don't think about what people can do for you. This is discussed. What can you do for other folks? And Mark was an incredible example of this, and appreciate the invite to be here.
Follow Mark around.
All right, Mike.
Thank you all.
Shall we?
Stand up.
Shall we?
To the bar.
To the bar.
What bombers do best.
Run.
I just
We got to go.
That was.